For years, WWE's landscape was ruled by the bloodline. Roman Reigns sat at the head of the table, flanked by loyal soldiers who enforced his will with brutality and precision. But every empire eventually fractures, and when it does, the wolves come out. Tonight, we reveal how two of the most dangerous men in wrestling, Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga, have not only broken ranks, they've declared war. And the first casualties? Solo Sikoa and Braun Breaker. This wasn't just an attack, this was an execution. A message. A warning, and it might just mark the beginning of a new bloodline war. It began quietly. Too quietly. SmackDown was winding down. Braun Breaker had just finished an intense match, and Solo Sikoa was seen pacing backstage, frustration evident on his face. With Roman Reigns absent from WWE television, Solo had taken it upon himself to hold the family name high. But leadership comes at a price. And that price was about to be paid in full. Unbeknownst to him, Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf, had returned. Not through the front door. Not with fanfare. He came through the shadows. No entrance music. No warning. Just pure, violent intent. But Jacob wasn't alone. Tama Tonga. The name sends chills down the spine of anyone who's followed his career. Unpredictable. Explosive. And loyal to no one but his mission. A man once shunned by the bloodline for refusing to kneel to Roman Reigns. A man who never forgot, and never forgave. Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga had no allegiance to Roman. But they did share a hatred for the hypocrisy of Solo Sikoa, and the arrogance of Braun Breaker, who recently aligned with Solo in a bid to control what remained of the crumbling dynasty. Together, Jacob and Tama weren't just forming an alliance, they were forming a reckoning. It happened fast. Solo was speaking with Braun near the locker rooms. The tension in the air was thick. Braun had just challenged Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE title and failed. Solo was irritated. Voices were raised. Then, a thunderous crash. Jacob Fatu blindsided Braun with a running headbutt into the steel lockers. Tama Tonga followed with a steel pipe, cracking Solo Sikoa across the back. The Samoan enforcer dropped, writhing in pain. Security tried to intervene. But this wasn't an ambush. This was a pre-planned demolition. Jacob Fatu grabbed Solo and slammed him through a catering table, sending debris flying. Food, plates, equipment, all turned into weapons. Tama Tonga lifted Braun Breaker and gun-stunned him onto the concrete floor. A sickening thud silenced the hallway. They didn't just attack. They sent a message. For Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga, this wasn't about brand supremacy. It wasn't about who headlines the next PLE or who gets a title shot. This was personal. Tama Tonga has long been the forgotten son of the Anoa'i legacy, underrated, underutilized, and written out of the bloodline's official narrative. Jacob Fatu? He was the family's most feared enforcer outside WWE. A man whose name carried terror on the indie circuit and whose signing sent shockwaves through the locker room. Both men had been deliberately left on the sidelines during Roman's reign, but now, the outcasts had found each other. And their mission? Burn everything down. Paul Heyman, once the genius mastermind behind the bloodline, has reportedly been scrambling behind the scenes, unsure of how to contain this threat. His latest efforts to form a new faction around Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker now look like a crumbling house of cards. Sources backstage say Heyman has tried to reach out to Tama Tonga multiple times in recent weeks. No calls returned. No messages acknowledged, because Tonga isn't interested in alliances, he's interested in revenge. Solo Sikoa is no stranger to violence. He was the one who turned on his own brothers to pledge loyalty to Roman Reigns. He's the one who sent Jimmy Uso to the hospital. He's the one who declared himself the new tribal heir. But tonight, he got humbled. As EMTs rushed Solo and Braun out of the arena, Jacob Fatu grabbed a camera, pulled it close, and uttered 5 chilling words: "Now we run the table." What makes this new alliance so terrifying isn't just the violence, it's the chemistry. Jacob Fatu is chaos incarnate. Tama Tonga is tactical rage. Together, they are the most unpredictable and uncontrollable force WWE has seen since the original Shield days, but with no leash, and no moral compass. Unlike the bloodline, this faction doesn't care about hierarchy, respect, or honor. They care about anarchy. What we just saw might be the end of the bloodline as we know it. There's no more order, just war. If Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga are aligned, then no one is safe. Not Cody. Not Seth. Not even Roman Reigns himself. Social media exploded within minutes. The hashtag Fatu Tonga takeover began trending worldwide. Fan footage leaked from Backstage showed security unable to restrain the two men even after the cameras went off. Reports confirm that WWE officials have issued internal warnings, keep them separated. For now. But the question remains, separated from who? Because if this was just step one, then what comes next? Are they coming for the undisputed title? Are they targeting Seth Rollins' new alliance? Or is this just the beginning of a full-scale civil war? In a world where alliances shift and betrayals are currency, one truth remains: the ones you abandon always come back, and when they do, they don't knock, they kick the door in. Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga were cast out, now they're back to claim what was always theirs, through violence, through chaos, and through the bloodline itself. And if tonight was any indication, then SmackDown isn't safe, Raw isn't safe, and the WWE Universe? You've just seen the opening shot in what might become the most brutal war the company has ever known. The dust hadn't even settled. Solo Sikoa, stretchered out, Braun Breaker, unconscious on the floor, and the locker room divided. WWE officials scrambled to figure out how two of the most dangerous men in the business, Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga, had slipped through the cracks. How they had gained access. Who let them in? And more importantly, who might have helped them? Because here's the thing, this wasn't a random attack, this was surgical. Timed. Perfectly coordinated, and someone on the inside had to have opened the door. We thought Fatu was still under a restricted deal. He wasn't even listed on the active travel roster. And Tama? Last we checked, he was working solo. No one saw this coming, but the signs were there. 3 weeks ago, Tama Tonga was spotted near the Performance Center. No media coverage. No press release. Just a quiet, isolated visit. 2 days later, Jacob Fatu posted a cryptic message on social media: family isn't who you stand with. It's who bleeds with you. Most fans brushed it off. They won't make that mistake again. Doctors say he avoided permanent damage, but barely. Reports from WWE medical staff indicate cracked ribs, a possible concussion, and deep muscle trauma. Braun Breaker's condition, though less severe, left him disoriented for several hours. Some sources claim he briefly lost memory of the attack, but here's what's worse: neither man is cleared for next week, and their replacements. That's where things get interesting. TripleH, now head of creative, has called an emergency summit. According to internal reports, the next 2 weeks of programming have been rewritten entirely, and the new directive contain Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga at all costs. But how do you contain two men who don't play by your rules? Who don't care about contracts, match cards, or sponsorship optics? You fight fire with fire. Which brings us to Roman Reigns. Since dropping the undisputed WWE title, Roman Reigns has remained off-screen, allegedly in seclusion with his family. No public statements. No interviews. Not even a social media post. But sources close to Reigns suggest he's not just resting. He's watching as his empire falls apart, as Solo Sikoa, his hand-picked successor, lays broken, and as the sons of the rejected bloodline rise in defiance. And the biggest question in WWE right now: will Roman return, to stop the war, or to finish it? As they walked into the night, a fan yelled out, "What are you trying to do?" Jacob didn't stop. Didn't even look back, but Tama Tonga did. He turned, smirked, and said, "We're not trying. We're taking." Taking what? Power, respect, blood. If there's one man who understands manipulation, betrayal, and strategic violence, it's Paul Heyman, the architect of ECW, the manipulator of Brock Lesnar, the former mouthpiece of Roman Reigns himself. And right now, he's nervous. Heyman came to Raw expecting to shape a new era, an era built on Rollins, Breaker, and the ruins of the bloodline. But what he didn't expect was a war on two fronts. Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga have changed the battlefield. Now, every move Heyman makes must be calculated, because one wrong step, and his new empire could be swallowed whole. I don't care what family you're from. I don't care how long your legacy stretches. Jacob Fatu. Tama Tonga. You want to start something? Just know. I don't stop until the last bell rings. And trust me, boys, that bell's coming. It was bold, it was emotional, it was dangerous, because calling out Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga doesn't summon them into a match, it summons them into warfare, and Rollins just put himself on the front line. WWE has officially announced a special SmackDown-branded event in 2 weeks titled Bloodlines Collide. A name that may hint at the first official confrontation between the crumbling factions. The rumored main event, Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga vs Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. But there's another twist. WWE officials are reportedly trying to negotiate with a third party to bring balance to this chaos. A wild card. A name that hasn't been seen in a WWE ring for months. Jey Uso walked out on the bloodline when it mattered most. Betrayed by his own flesh. Tired of the mind games. Sick of carrying someone else's weight, but now, everything he left behind is on fire. Multiple sources say WWE Creative has reached out to Jey with a proposition: return to SmackDown. Step back into the fight. Help restore order, or destroy what's left. But whether Jey returns for justice or revenge remains to be seen. Last night, footage leaked of Jacob Fatu almost getting into a physical altercation with Ricochet backstage after Ricochet made a comment about earned respect. Fatu allegedly responded by slamming Ricochet against the wall before security intervened. Respect is taken, not earned. You'll learn that, if you're still breathing by next week. This isn't just part of the show anymore. The locker room is terrified. Jacob Fatu? Tama Tonga? I don't care who you are. You got the drop on me once. Next time? You won't walk away. This isn't over. This is just starting. And he's right, because this isn't about a single beatdown, this is a power shift. For too long, Roman Reigns' version of the bloodline controlled WWE through fear, deception, and dominance. But now that throne sits empty, and every vulture wants a piece of the crown, Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga don't want to inherit it, they want to destroy it. You can line up every champion, every legend, every name on your little payroll. Ain't none of them ready for what's coming. I'm not here to play the game. I'm here to break it. In WWE, power isn't given. It's stolen, and while the company scrambles to find control, while Paul Heyman whispers behind closed doors, while Roman Reigns remains silent, two exiled sons have set the machine on fire. Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga.no loyalty.no limits.no leash. They're not part of the bloodline, they're the ones who survived it, and now, they're back to burn what's left to the ground. And just when it seemed the storm couldn't get darker, the silence finally broke. Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, the once undisputed ruler of WWE, has finally spoken. He didn't post a tweet. He didn't call a press conference. No theme music. No pyro, just a quiet video. Shot in the shadows, his voice, calm. Cold. You boys think you've started something new. That you're making waves. Fatu. Tama. You're not new. You're not a revolution. You're the dust from my boots. You forgot who made this place, and I don't forget betrayal. He leans in, you made it personal. So now, I'm gonna make it permanent. And just like that, the king has returned to his throne. Roman's short video, just under 90 seconds, shook the entire wrestling world. Over 10 million views in the first 6 hours. Stars began reacting instantly. Cody Rhodes posted a single skull emoji. Seth Rollins replied with, "This is getting out of hand." Solo Sikoa retweeted it with a single word, "Ready." But the real message wasn't for fans. It wasn't even for the locker room. It was for Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga, and now, all eyes are on Jey Uso. He said he was done. That he walked away for good, but war has a way of calling men back. Jey Uso was spotted arriving at the WWE Performance Center under heavy security, carrying a duffel bag and wearing a hooded sweatshirt that said, "Family First." Always. The last time Jey stepped into the ring, he superkicked Roman Reigns into the past and declared himself free. Now, he may have no choice but to pick a side. Paul Heyman, the self-proclaimed wise man, was seen arguing with WWE officials, demanding more security and a no-contact clause ahead of next week's episode of Raw. Sources say Heyman is terrified, not of a match, but of what happens if Fatu and Tonga show up unannounced, because these aren't men who ask for permission, they don't wait for contracts, they don't do promos, they strike. And in a shocking move, Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga have been cleared to compete. Despite protests from Heyman and several other superstars, WWE's legal team confirmed that both men are officially on the active roster after fulfilling last-minute contractual clauses. Rumors suggest TripleH personally greenlit their inclusion, hoping that a match would control their chaos, but trying to tame Jacob Fatu in the ring is like trying to cage a wildfire. Jacob Fatu, they thought keeping us out would make us weak. But they forgot who we are. I don't need a suit. I don't need a title. I don't need Roman's blessing. I'm not a prince. I'm the one they buried. I'm the one they called too real for TV. But now I'm here, and I'm not leaving. He looks into the camera. This ain't a bloodline. This is a warpath. But WWE isn't just trying to manage the chaos, they're capitalizing on it. Announced live on SmackDown, a special one-night-only event called Bloodline, Final Judgment, Main Event, Roman Reigns, Jey Uso and Solo Sikoa vs. Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga and mystery partner. The announcement drew gasps from the crowd. Because while Roman and Jey may be ready to fight again, the question remains, who is Fatu and Tonga's third man? Some say it could be Hikuleo, Tama's own brother from NJPW. Others whisper about Lance Anoa'i or even a returning Jimmy Uso. But the most controversial name floating around, the Beast, Brock Lesnar. There have been unconfirmed sightings of Lesnar in Florida. A few grainy photos. No confirmation. But if Lesnar were to side with the outsiders, it wouldn't just be betrayal. It would be carnage. You think you broke me? You just woke me up. You think you ended something? Nah, you just gave me a reason to go further than I've ever gone. This ain't about titles anymore. This is about blood. And when it's blood, I don't stop. Solo is back. Cleared. Focused. But is he the same man who once stood behind Roman Reigns, or is he stepping out of the shadow and becoming something darker? Two factions. One broken legacy. On one side, the remnants of the Empire, Roman Reigns, the fallen king Jey Uso, the betrayed brother Solo Sikoa, the wildcard enforcer. On the other, the rejected, the wild, the revolution, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and a shadow yet to be named. This isn't just about family. It's not about pride. It's about who gets to tell the story next, because in WWE, history is written in pain, and after this.